Greetings, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TTT News. We are going in depth on investments and innovation within the cocoa industry with Ambassador, Delegation of the European Union to Trinidad and Tobago, Peter Cavendish, and Vice President of Investments at InvesTT, Pramilla Ramdahani. Welcome, Ms. Ramdahani and Ambassador. We want to start with you, though, please, Ambassador Cavendish. And it's almost as though we want to say, what's in it for the EU in terms of what are some of those value propositions for European investments in Trinitario cocoa?
Well, Trinitario cocoa is the world's best cocoa. That is not disputed by anybody. Your plant is so good it has been taken up worldwide. But at this point in time, Trinidad and Tobago has a very, very tiny percentage of the European market. We consider that it's a bit like going to the best ecosystem for cocoa in the world to get the best cocoa is an overlooked value investment opportunity for Europeans. The cocoa market worldwide is worth about $100 billion US. Europeans consume about half of this. And in European culture, chocolate is seen as being a quality product, also with some health benefits. And of course, European consumers wish to have the best at a good price. And this country is ideally positioned to increase production and supply those demands in Europe, both of a raw product, where it's excellent, it goes for $5,000 to $7,500 a ton, and of a finished product of chocolates, and let's not forget related products, be they beauty products or, for example, chocolate-flavored liqueurs. So for European consumers, I think that Trinidad and Tobago and the Trinitario cocoa products are really a front-rank product which can really appeal to European consumers across the board.
And it's one thing to say that, okay, well, we need to increase the market penetration, but what are some of those programs from the EU's perspective to support cocoa projects and SMEs in TNT?
Well, we're doing quite a lot, actually. Historically, we've already supported the development of the Cocoa Research Centre here in Trinidad and Tobago, and your country should be very proud. That is the #1 cocoa research centre in the world. We've supported the development of the cocoa genome here in Trinidad and Tobago, and your country has the greatest range, supply, stock of cocoa plants in the world for research. We've also supplied equipment. At this point in time for innovation, we are spending 63.5 million Trinidadian dollars on innovation. We're working with your Ministry for Planning and Development and also with Careeri, both excellent co-partners in this innovation initiative. We're seeking to forward entrepreneurs in the cocoa industry, but also other industries, to put forward new ideas which can give new products or innovate on existing products and bring a better quality to the consumers. So substantively, we have invested in industry. Substantively, we are investing in innovation. And substantively, we have funds available for agriculture and other purposes where we're very happy to invest in this country, including at third level, building educational capacity at agricultural, forestry and related bodies with European counterparts. These are all long-term investments which will benefit the European consumer, benefit European academia, but at the same time Trinidadian producers and Trinidadian academia.
And Ms. Ramdahani, let me bring you into the conversation, please. Thank you for your patience. What are some of those things that InvesTT has been helping to facilitate in this conversation, this dialogue that the ambassador was just alluding to, as well as some of those episodes? Episode 1, highlight of episode 2. What are some of those things we're expecting under the theme of excellence and innovation, which is a word that the ambassador has used a few times well?
Yeah, thank you, Dike. Yes, the Ambassador Cavendish approached InvesTT. And as many of you would know, InvesTT is the investment promotion agency for the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Ambassador Cavendish approached us to develop or to co-develop a webinar series in collaboration with the European Union Delegation to Trinidad and Tobago. And we have been very pleased to be part of this process. And we are organizing a 3-part series, a webinar series, that is. So episode 1 was completed in February of this year. We had quite a high turnout there. And episode 2 is scheduled for May 25th. And then following that, we would have an episode 3 later in September. Each episode is themed to bring across the varying competitive advantages of Trinitario cocoa to European investors and to other investors. So we are really interested in understanding what are the investment opportunities that we can facilitate as an intermediary between investors and the cocoa to the bean to bar entrepreneurial value chain in Trinidad and Tobago. What are some of the opportunities here, and how can we be that facilitator to bring all of those together? The webinar series is bringing together some of the experts, the subject matter experts, who can at least share with the world what are some of the competitive advantages. And Ambassador just alluded to a few, which includes our International Cocoa Gene Bank, which is the largest in Trinidad, largest in the world, I should say. Almost 2,200 varieties of cocoa plants in that gene bank. It's a gem, and I urge everyone to take a look at that, to view that, or to visit the gene bank at some time, as well as the Cocoa Research Institute. There are other advantages, competitive advantages, that really positions Trinidad and Tobago as an international center for excellence in cocoa, as well as in cocoa innovation. So that's the theme for episode 2. And episode 3, I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along.
But it's one thing to say there was a large turnout. What sort of feedback have you been receiving from February to now to say, okay, well, this is making sense, we'll go forward on this, along this journey, and these are some of the things that we might want to focus in or lock in on because of the feedback that we've received since February?
So in terms of giving you a snapshot of the type of feedback, certainly we had, first of all, I should say we had over 600 registrants, which is a very significant number for a particular webinar in a field such as cocoa. Out of those 600 plus registrants, we had 412 attendees. Following the episode 1, we have had significant interest along the value chain from entrepreneurs. We had interest from farmers right to chocolatiers. Farmers looking at how can they rehabilitate their estates? What are the partnership opportunities? How can we facilitate those linkages with different stakeholders? So they were interested in everything from financing, capacity building, to actually looking at plants. Where can they source plants? With the chocolatiers, we had interest in understanding who are the investors, who are the B2B opportunities in the European Union that we can facilitate a matchmaking process. So several types of interest, and how have we worked with that? Certainly, we realize that InvesTT, that's not really our major role, but there are other stakeholders in the value chain who are responsible for those different roles, or bringing together, facilitating some of those responses. And again, we went and provided a value added in terms of bringing stakeholders in different groups. So what we're finding at this time, a few things are happening. Some really innovative things are happening. One, financing. We've had interest from some of the financing institutions. They're coming together with us in terms of really identifying a non-traditional type of financing for some of these smaller farmers who are not at this time investment ready. So that conversation is happening, and perhaps a product will be developed or curated by our 3rd episode. Secondly, we also had interest from, we had inquiries about capacity building. Where can I find information to build my business plan? Or where can I get more information to hire labor? So some of those questions. So we have been having in the background a number of conversations with stakeholders who are involved in those areas, and also more importantly, bringing them together to address some of the capacity building issues, the finance issues, the marketing issues that have come up from episode 1. And it was, I should say, a rich inventory of opportunities that we can leverage through stakeholder collaboration and build on this as we go along.
And we'll want to get to some of that collaboration when we return from the break. We are speaking with Ambassador Cavendish, as well as Pramilla Ramdahani, Vice President of Investments at InvesTT. Stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back. We are talking about cocoa innovation and looking at Trinitario cocoa. We're doing so with the Ambassador, Peter Cavendish, as well as Pramilla Ramdahani. And Ambassador, are there any timelines that you are looking at? And I ask that in the context of conversations and narratives of individuals looking at where they source their beans from, where they source their chocolate from, and this is something that is now a lot more on the forefront. And some places, in terms of the production methods, are not necessarily best practice. So in terms of shifting away from those areas, are there timelines that you'll have in mind?
Well, the timeline to bring cocoa to fruition is about 3 to 5 years where you're planting new plants. But you hit a very, very good point when you mentioned sourcing. You have to remember what is new and what is to the great advantage of Trinidad and Tobago now is the European regulation to prevent the destruction of rainforests. Now, this came in November 2021. And in order to preserve rainforests, which are being ripped down in a great deal of countries for cattle production, coffee production, cocoa production, palm oil, the European Union has now said that you cannot bring products into Europe which are resulting from rainforest destruction. In Trinidad and Tobago, 40% of your rainforest survives, and where you are planting cocoa in this country, it is in fact reforestation. So this gives a gigantic edge to Trinidad and Tobago in terms of the sourcing of an ethically produced commodity. And related to that commodity, of course, will also be ecotourism, because we are restoring rainforests where we plant or rejuvenating old ones. There will not just be the benefit of cocoa, but there will also be the benefit of ecotourism. So I think your country is really in a very good paradigm to give a rejuvenation, a rebirth to this industry at this point in time.
And it's interesting that you talk about the different, well, reforestation and different models. And Ms. Ramdahani, I want to follow that up with you, thank you. So the way that Lopino tours would actually have you dancing the cocoa, some people grinding. What are some of those success stories as it pertains to entrepreneurs, people who are trailblazing the work of entrepreneurship in cocoa? And sometimes I even want to ask the question of females' role in this process.
That's an excellent question. And also it zeroes in on one of the panel discussions at episode 2, and it will solely focus on women entrepreneurs. So one of the, that panel will be facilitated by myself as an entrepreneur, not in cocoa though, but really bringing together those trailblazing women entrepreneurs who are doing great things in terms of across the value chain, whether it is from cocoa production, cultivation, to cocoa, to chocolate making. So 3 of those women entrepreneurs will be on our panel on May 25th. And I encourage everyone to join us at that event. That's one session at the May 25th event. The others would be on what is some of the competitive advantages, and we bring together some of the stakeholders or experts who will be talking with us on those on a list of great competitive advantages that we can showcase to the world. But I do invite everyone to join us for the women's panel. It's the first time that we're bringing together some of these trailblazing women entrepreneurs to showcase some of their products as well as their cocoa estates in Trinidad and Tobago.
And you mentioned the word products, and I want to take that up with you, please, Ambassador, in terms of going downstream, looking at adding value to the chain as opposed to just initial production. What are some of those things that you're looking at? Because I heard you talk about cocoa liqueurs and chocolate, but are there other things that you have in mind in terms of like the cosmetic industry? How far can we take this thing, especially since we have this #1 cocoa research facility to boast of?
Well, I mean, I think the scope is almost endless. This is a country of 1.4 million. And you have a very good active entrepreneurial sector. I'm actually quite surprised, given I'm new to this country, at the number of people who are involved in related products to cocoa. Already I've met people doing cosmetics. I've had lots of contacts with people producing liqueurs. There's even a chocolate flavored beer out there, which is Trinidad and Tobago made, which I haven't tasted yet. But the range of products that is coming forward, I think, is already very impressive. And one of the things that we're doing in the webinars is to arrange for people to meet other people, be they for retail chains in Europe, be they for people in Europe who are seeking quality products. And I think their momentum has been gathered. We're already very, very pleased with the over 600 parties who participated to the first webinar. We have another webinar upcoming, and we'll be seeking to bring forward and to have content for entrepreneurs in this country. And if entrepreneurs who are dealing with cocoa or watching this show, I would encourage them to get in contact with myself or with Pramilla. Certainly, we think that the market is very large and the quality of products here in this country is potentially really excellent.
And Ambassador, you just touched on the power of networking, and I want to take that up with you, please, Ms. Ramdahani. How do people engage, one, to become part of the webinar, and InvesTT's facilitative role in this sort of entrepreneurship? Fill me in on both of those things, please.
Sure. So in terms of participating in the webinar as an attendee, you can visit our website at www.investt.co.tt, and you will find all of the information on the webinar series, episode 1, 2, and 3, as well as follow us on social media. That's where you would find all of the information. Once you register, then you would get invitations to our subsequent webinars in the future. That gives you an opportunity to participate and also to find your niche area and where you need support. In terms of our facilitative role, Ambassador Cavendish has been really instrumental in coming to us with this idea, and we worked together over the last few months in terms of bringing together the webinar series. But he has also been quite instrumental in also identifying key stakeholders within his network and within the community here in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Europe, so that we can reach out to them via invitations, or we can engage them in some of the stakeholder meetings or some of the stakeholder planning meetings, I should mention. We also have stakeholder meetings with others who are interested in co-creating or designing products and services that would be targeting or would be specific to some of the needs identified by the entrepreneurs who have participated. So we have different types of stakeholders along the life cycle of this webinar series. It's an area that has not been ours in the past, and it certainly still is not ours. We are simply facilitators in terms of bringing together some of the key stakeholders who are involved in this, and so that we can help prepare and package some of those investment opportunities for investors globally, especially in the European Union, identified by Ambassador Cavendish. So it is a pivotal moment for InvesTT, and it is an area that we would like to continue building on. We need a champion, I should say, and Ambassador Cavendish is one of those, who would be able to bring together some of the key stakeholders within to strengthen the ecosystem. Without an ecosystem, we would continue to have these silos or the pockets throughout Trinidad and Tobago. With an ecosystem, we are stronger in terms of foreign investors and how they see us and how they also see our competitive advantages. So that is our key role here, and bringing together all of the main players, whether you are in the university system, the private sector, in the cocoa value chain, or in the manufacturing area. So we also are interested in those who are involved in the communities, in various communities. Come to us and participate or share with us your ideas, and we will also be able to link you to others who are really trailblazing some of the work, whether it's in research or whether it's in capacity building services or in financing. But what we'd like to see as well is certainly a financial instrument, and Ambassador Cavendish has alluded to this, his organization's involvement and contribution to the sector. We'd like to see others also also follow on to that and develop other types of financing instruments that will support farmers, local farmers, all of those across the value chain. And that will make a big difference in increasing our production in Trinidad and Tobago.
So in terms of those linkages, I think they are so important. So what a time to be alive. We want to thank you very much, Ms. Pramilla Ramdahani, as well as Ambassador Peter Cavendish, and all being able to draw on our rich history, pun intended, with regard to cocoa, and looking forward to the investments and innovations within the industry as they are facilitated by this engagement. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you for joining us.